I picked it, it was like, well, it's this pattern that I can do a lot with in terms of like, it will be very bright and bold and geometric, and then I will feel much more comfortable doing much more like, I guess, artsy, free-flowing quilting style, which I'm trying to get better at.
One more thing before we go. This is a research podcast, so it's not perfect, although most podcasts aren't. We keep in things that kind of, when they go wrong, we just keep it in. If people ask us to keep something personal or quiet, we do edit it out, anything when someone asks us to do that, so sometimes that will happen. We've been a little glitchy getting started, getting the sound and everything up and running, so I apologize if it annoys you. We're trying our best to have awesome sound. And this is really just the journey, like trying to understand the quilting world. So I hope you enjoy being on the journey I'm on. I hope you join the journey, and we'll see where it goes. And then finally, because it's a research podcast and because I'm a law professor or just a professor at heart, we'll also be including podcasts and conversations on a meta level of how we did the podcast and what we've learned, and other aspects of it, including some legal aspects of podcasting that we've come across, and other things that arise. So when we learn something, we will include it as part of this series. So the kinds of things you'll see on here: one, stories, our stories, us regular quilters. We're interviewing you, and I'd love to hear from you. Those are the first kinds of things you'll see. People talking about patterns and tools and businesses and other aspects of quilting. So they're coming on too, and they're sending us samples sometimes so we can understand what they're talking about, because we had a few where I didn't have a clue as to what they were talking about, and so we get some samples. And when we do, we'll do a little YouTube video sort of to explain what we found, and then of course I'm most interested in the intellectual property aspects of it, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we also have famous quilters stopping by sometimes, which is super fun. People really well known on the internet. This new generation of quilters in their 20s, 30s, 40s, it's really cool. So they're changing kind of how we think about quilting, how we think about audience, how we think about power in quilting. And so we'll talk to them. And we've interviewed, about 4 or 5 of them so far, and I'm hoping to interview more. Super, super interesting group. We'll also be interviewing historians, quilt historians, the curator from New England Quilt Museum, Pam Weeks, is part of our quilting army. And so we're really interested in quilting history and how it relates to our current world. We're interested in traditional quilting. We're interested in modern quilting. We're interested in art quilts. Maureen Collins at John Marshall is helping us on the art quilt side. So we're super psyched about that. We're interested in beginning quilters. Very interested in beginning quilters. We're interested in super fancy advanced quilters who know lots of things and can chat with us about that. We're interested in charity quilting. We have some really awesome interviews with people who do a lot of charity work and charity quilting, and we'll hear those in the first season. So incredibly cool. We're also interested in groups that are doing socially conscious quilting. So the AIDS quilt, the Names Project, there's a Holocaust project that's really interesting that I've interviewed them, and also we are doing a project with them. And then, of course, just interesting things that come along. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. It really is, a labor of love. It is also research, so I'll be doing fancy research out of it. But for now, enjoy. I hope you enjoy it. We're posting the first 10 episodes, and then a pair of episodes at least once a week, if not more. And that's it. So this is Elizabeth Townsend Guard. I'm a law professor at Tulane University Law School, and you've been listening to an introduction to Just Wanna Quilt, a research podcast coming out of Tulane University Law School, where we explore everything related to quilting, from old quilts your grandmother made or great-grandmother made, to super high-tech, interesting stuff, to long arming, to everything you can imagine, to better understand the role of law in creativity, make friends along the way, have fun, have something to listen to while we're quilting, and that's it. Join our Facebook group, become part of our quilting army. If you have suggestions on how to make this better, we would love to hear from you. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you listen. And whatever you do, I hope you get a chance to quilt today.